Ah, good old Toy Story. What more is there to say about Toy Story? You know it, you love it, it's a classic. The animation may have aged, but the story and characters are forever timeless. It's actually kind of hard to imagine a time when Woody and Buzz didn't exist. Even though I remember when the movie first came out, it's still hard to imagine. I've seen the first Toy Story I don't know how many times, but I still laugh at the humor and feel connected with the characters. That's a sign of a truly great movie when you can watch it over and over and it still feels as fresh as it did the first time. I think I can safely say that Toy Story will live on for many, many generations in the future.
Excuse me. Lightyear to the rescue.
This was the movie that showed that yes, animated sequels can be amazing and even better than their predecessors if the right amount of care and dedication is put into them. When Disney was in the midst of its shit out as many direct-to-video sequels as possible craze, Pixar gave us a sequel done right. It developed the characters further and gave us charming new characters, most notably Jessie, and we got to go to new and exciting places. And yes, this movie has When She Loved Me and showed how Pixar can really make us cry. Little did we know that making us cry would become a special trait in future Pixar movies.
And beyond.
Don't talk to any toy you don't know!
Damn it, I love this movie, though it's kind of hard to explain why. I mean, I could talk about the amazing world building that lets us really believe in this world of monsters that need to scare kids in order to power their city. I could also talk about the quirky, lovable characters who have established themselves as classics. I could also talk about this movie's quirky humor and surprisingly tear-jerking moments, but really, this movie works because everything is perfectly blended together in a total package. Every time I watch it, I just have so much fun, and that's what this movie is. Fun. I literally waited 14 years for this movie. Seriously, I remember wondering why the hell they were making movies like Monsters University and Finding Dory when they could have been making Incredibles 2. And yes, those movies ended up being better than I thought they would be, but I was still keeping my fingers crossed for an Incredibles 2. So, was it worth the wait? Hell yeah, it was! It's fun, it's exciting, it's touching, it develops the characters further, it's pretty much everything you could want in a sequel. I don't want to say too much since it hasn't come to Blu-ray yet, but if you missed it in the theaters, do yourself a favor and stream it as soon as possible. One thing though, can Disney and Pixar please take a break from plot twist villains for a while? At this point it would be a surprise if the villain wasn't a surprise.
I like Mom's new job!
The overprotective parent can be an annoying cliche in animated movies if done wrong, but this movie does it very, very right. For one thing, Coral's death at the beginning of the movie makes more than a few tears fall, so we really understand why Marlin is so afraid of losing Nemo. The movie also acknowledges that yes, terrible things can and do happen, and you can't completely prevent them. The animation is gorgeous, of course, and even though this movie has a pretty large cast of characters, people remember almost every single one. I mean, that's a sign of a real good movie right there. Oh, and there's Dory. I love Dory.
That's a big place to find one fish.
I'm not quite sure what I was expecting when I first saw this movie, but it definitely exceeded my expectations, whatever they were. I love Remy, I love Emile, I love Linguini, I love Colette, I love Ego, I love pretty much everyone. If I could describe this movie in one word, it would probably be elegant. Follow your dreams may be a cliche, but it's impossible not to root for Remy's enthusiasm, and the food. Oh god, the food. The food is rendered so well that I can't watch this movie without getting hungry. It makes me want to be a chef myself, even though I'm lousy at cooking. I'm not Mexican, but I love the idea of the Day of the Dead and celebrating your departed loved ones. And that's what this movie is, a celebration. It celebrates both the living and the dead with amazingly beautiful visuals and music and, of course, memorable characters. The relationship between Miguel and Hector is so wonderfully touching, even though the plot twist about them is extremely predictable, but who cares? It's such a good movie that you can overlook the little flaws because you're so attached to the characters and the world they inhabit. And, oh yeah, Pixar once again makes the tears flow.
Tonight is about family.
This was such a groundbreaking movie for Pixar in so many ways. It was their first movie about humans, their first true action movie, their first movie with a PG rating, and that was back when the PG rating still sort of meant something. However, what really makes this movie stand out is the characters. This movie gives one of the most realistic family dynamics I've ever seen in an animated movie. Families have fights, families make mistakes, families don't always understand each other, but all that makes their bond much more stronger, even when they all have superpowers. This movie brought a whole new level of sophistication to Pixar. Oh, it also brought us Edna Mode. She's awesome. There are no words for how fucking amazing this movie is. A love story between two robots that takes place 700 years in the future, and the robots end up restoring humanity to the brain-drained humans. Who besides Pixar would have faith in an idea like that? This isn't just a beautiful love story, it's one of the most beautiful love stories in all of cinema history. Seriously, the scene where Wall-E and Eve fly through space, otherwise known as Define Dancing, has to be one of my all-time favorite movie scenes ever. This masterpiece of a movie has so much faith in itself and its audience and doesn't dumb itself down even a bit. For a long time, I thought there was no way Pixar could ever top this, but then came... I could praise this movie for hours and still not do it justice. It's creative, it's emotional, it's sophisticated, it's funny, it's moving, well, it's everything. On one level, it's about a young girl dealing with moving to a new home, but on another level, it's about the journey to adulthood that we all must take, and how that journey often involves sacrifices and heartbreak. The story is amazing, the characters are amazing, the world building is amazing, the animation is amazing, everything is amazing. There may not be such a thing as a perfect movie, but some movies can get pretty damn close to perfect, and I would say that this is one of them. That, my friends, is why I declare Inside Out to be the greatest movie Pixar has ever made. Well, I'd like to thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and here's to many more years of Pixar. So long, everyone.
Gentlemen, that could have been a disaster.